Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are sending our Crasher 9000 to go crash into the moon. For money. Because we have a contract to do. We launched it successfully before, but I did end up reverting it because we didn't have solar panels on it, and also because my angle of attack for the gravity turn was really bad. So we're trying this again. We're going up through the atmosphere at a much better pace this time. And I'll be starting the gravity turn relatively soon here. Apoapsis is currently about 35, but I'll be beginning the gravity turn about now. And with this, we should have ourselves a much more solid starting trajectory. Don't want to be too far off of the mark there, though. The moon is in an equatorial orbit. Okay, we're burning horizontally now. I'm not going to throttle up at all. Our apoapsis is plenty high. So, I'm just going to detach. Whoa! That was different. I'm going to revert that, actually. That was a big lag spike there, and then I think that lag spike caused a very large physics issue. So I think what we need to do to avoid that is make sure that we don't don't detach our fairing in the atmosphere. I think that's going to be necessary here. This is a really weird build, so I'm okay with experimenting. Like, look at this. This is really wacky. Also, our apoapsis was a little higher than I would have liked last time, so that's something I'm going to adjust as well with this particular attempt. But I'm pretty sure we're going to get there this time. By pretty sure, I mean exactly sure. Okay, I'm going to start the gravity turn a little earlier, because I'm pretty sure with our aerodynamics we'll be fine. No backflip here. Famous last words, eh? But no, I think we're fine. So let's go. Yeah. That was much better. Plenty of efficiency there. We're already moving quite quickly, to the point where I'm going to cut the throttle for a little bit. Our nose is drifting up, though, so I'm going to just adjust that. I'll keep the throttle on 1/3 for now, actually. Okay, now I'll go ahead and throttle us back up. Our apoapsis is still pretty low. I want to push that up. Okay. Apoapsis is in the atmosphere. Oof. Wow, I'm really struggling with this. No, not load save. Don't do that. I just want to revert back to the launch and try this again. I don't know why I'm struggling with this. Like, this isn't that hard. I just need to focus. Okay. Thresholds. We have limited amounts of fuel in this first stage, and we need to get out of the atmosphere with it. So, here's the new plan. We begin the gravity turn as soon as our apoapsis hits 50 kilometers. is a bit on the late side, but that way we can pretty much guarantee that we are going to make it into space. And with that, then our second stage can take over if I make another mistake. So I'm ensuring for a fact that this flight will work. Assuming we make it to 50 kilometers. Which we should. I could thrust limit this thing. That's an option. Or just, you know, go with a less powerful main engine, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna sit at 2/3 throttle. I'm sure it'll be fine. Apoapsis is approaching 50 kilometers. We are at 50 kilometers. We are gravity turning. Okay. Let's hit that horizon. Apoapsis is in space. That is good. It's not going up very quickly right now because we're a long ways away from prograde. Once it hits 100, or we run out of fuel, whichever comes first, I will cut the throttle. It's kind of looking like we'll run out of fuel first. But that's okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Okay. We'll add a maneuver here. That is too much. That's more like it. That'll do. Lock to the maneuver node as soon as you can. As soon as we hit space, we're ditching this engine and our fairing, and we are heading off on our merry adventure. Okay, we're in space. Big lag spike. Really? Huh. Okay. Well, with that being the case, why is detaching the fairing causing collisions there? We need to figure that out then. Do we need to make the fairing wider? That's a possibility. It can go wider than it currently is. But I figured with it deploying outward, we'd be okay. Yeah, like, it just deployed on the launch pad fine. Okay. Does it do it again on the launch pad fine? Because if it's deploying on the launch pad fine, I would think it would deploy in space fine, right? That would be my thought anyway. I have to assume this is just a physics bug that I'm hitting. Having to do with all of those parts having like separate rigid bodies or something. Yeah, it just deployed fine again. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to revert this back again. We're going to launch this one more time. And this time, before we launch, and only for the duration of the launch, to prevent this physics issue from happening, which I have to assume this is a bug, because there's no reason that that should be causing any sort of issues. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the cheat menu here, and I'm going to turn on unbreakable joints and no crash damage. And then once we get up, I will turn them back off. Because we want to crash. Just not there. Because realistically, this fairing should be deploying completely safely. There's no reason that it should be causing this issue. Because the fairing deploys outward, right? So it shouldn't be colliding with anything at all. Like, down here, we've got space, right? I mean, maybe it's this that's causing the issue. But regardless, I'm just going to see if this works. If this doesn't, then we'll redesign the fairing. But I'm pretty sure this will work. I'm going to do the gravity turn a little earlier this time, because our apoapsis shot up plenty high. So I'm going to do it when the apoapsis reaches about 40 kilometers this time, because it also felt quite stable. So now. But yeah, maybe it has to do with the clipping that was going on there. Like, the fairing is, like, the internal art structure of the fairing is clipping into the octagonal struts a little bit, now that I looked at it from the inside. So that might have something to do with it. Okay, I'm going to cut the throttle at 80 kilometers for the apoapsis. Actually, I'm going to go a little higher than this. Like 81. There we go. Just so that drag is dealt with a little bit. Also, the game is getting super laggy, which I think, again, has to do with collisions between the fairing and the internals. That's my guess, anyway. So we'll go ahead and lock to that maneuver node. And I'm just going to burn towards it a little bit here. There we go. And as soon as we exit the atmosphere, I'll burn off the last little bit. But I'm just going to keep burning a tiny amount to hold us here, because there's no way that our reaction wheels can. But there we go. Now we'll just accelerate here. Okay, I'm going to quick save here. Wow. You notice how the fairing didn't deploy? Because I noticed how the fairing didn't deploy. So why didn't the fairing bother to deploy? That must be the problem. Like, the fairing is just not deploying. So if we turn this off, I'm willing to bet it'll all explode. No? Wait, the ship is under acceleration? The ship is under acceleration. Okay, that's really weird. Like, this is generating force. This is clearly a bug. You know what we could do? And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to revert this back to the launch. It's clearly bugging out. It's clearly not intended to be doing what I'm doing here, and I accept that. What I'm going to do, I've proven that I can launch this thing into orbit if I can just get the fairing to deploy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy the fairing here, and it properly deploys down here. So that's perfect. And now, I'm just going to set our orbit around Kerbal to set the semi-major axis. Oof. I kind of don't know how to calculate the semi-major axis. Semi-major axis. How do I calculate that? Is 1/2 of the major axis, so the semi-major axis for my desired orbit would then need to be 50,000 if I'm targeting 100,000? Am I understanding that correctly? If the eccentricity is 0? Guess we're about to find out. Nope. Minimum safe value for orbit. Okay, so this is the minimum safe value. 86,750? Fair enough. Okay, so there we go. This buggy thing made it to orbit, and the fairing successfully deployed. Now, the main thing here is that our fuel... We have too much fuel, right? We shouldn't have this much fuel. Well, I'm going to jettison this tank. We wouldn't have this tank. So, we can just jettison that immediately, because we shouldn't have it. And then I guess we can say we got here just barely with a single stage to orbit burn. Close enough, I guess. But anyway, the game is getting a little laggy, so I'm going to restart the game. But to do that, I'm going to put a cut in here. And next episode, we're taking this thing to the moon. Because I want to be done with this piece of junk. I think the problem was that my fairing was too small. But I kind of didn't want to mess with it. I can get it to space if the fairing would have properly deployed. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put that cut in here. And next episode, we're going to be bombing the moon. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you all next time.